Hey, you're listening to Blindsight. Let's go. Mental health isn't something to take lightly. It's time to fight. It's time to thrive. Let's do this.
Okay. Welcome to Blindsight. I'm your host, Bill Lundgren, and we have another interesting episode for you. We'll be talking about body image and body responses. And when I say we, Jonathan Price, our producer, and I are going to be talking about this subject and hopefully give you some information that'll be helpful, because there is so much misinformation about body image and about how we should look that we need to step back and talk. Remind all of you that the name of this program, of the organization that puts on Blindsight, is now called Aftersight. And Aftersight, the podcast, is now called Blind Shit Chick. And when you want to reach us for any reason, remember, instead of the AIN of Colorado, everything is Aftersight, and that's a lot easier to read and to say and remember and type out.
Yes.
That's why we're doing all that, to make it more convenient. And also, we want to welcome everybody in this new year with new promises and a better world ahead of us. So with that, I want to welcome Jonathan on. Hi, Jonathan.
Bill, how are you?
I'm doing okay. Well, I'm doing much better because I finally broke down, went to the ear doctor, and let him put a hole in my eardrum.
Okay.
Which sounds pretty ghastly, but what it did, it allowed me to get rid of this fluid that had built up because of a cold I had that made it impossible for me to hear on the left ear, and really wrecked me, even in terms of doing the podcast. It was trying to keep, be able to interview people, understand what they're saying, and I was having trouble. Now that's cleared up. It wasn't as painful as I thought it was going to be. Good. And, now we're, heading into 2024 with an early Christmas present of hearing in both ears.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
It is. It is great. It was so simple, and I was making such a big to-do about it.
I remember.
But it. So that's behind me. I just have to watch for the next 3 or 4 days and make sure no water gets in my ear, and that's it.
Yeah. So, I remember you were telling me that you had the procedure done on your right ear. How was the procedure different versus
big difference?
That experience?
The right ear kept filling up, so the doctor had to put a tube in and keep that open. And the tube, and it was the last time it was played around with, the tubing had come loose, so he had to pull the tubing, which was still attached to some of the eardrum.
Oh, goodness.
And I think that is definitely a CIA technique for getting people to confess, because I was willing to confess to anything of that pain. And that is why I was so reluctant to have anything done with the left ear. But he just made a decision to put an incision in, to make the incision, drain the fluid, let it heal, and see if there's any necessity for a tube to be there. And I also told him that if he puts a tube in the left ear, does that mean when he uses that light to take a look at your ear, that you're going to see the light on the wall next to the right side?
Usually.
Yeah. Well, he told me there's a brain in between. I said, don't be too certain.
Yeah, you better do an extra x-ray on that one.
Right.
For sure. Well, I'm glad I'm glad would you call it a surgery or operation?
He just did it right there in the office. It just took a minute or two, and it was done.
Took a safety pin and shoved it in your ear, huh?
Yeah. It just, he took out some brain with it, which it wasn't much, but that was all right.
Well, if that's any indication, we should have very interesting shows from now on. For sure. I'm the whole ear thing. I mean, I assuming that made you feel pretty good. You've kind of got a new lease on life. It kind of lends to what we're talking about with the body image thing.
Right.
What does that make you feel when it comes to getting your hearing back?
Right. Well, the thing is, my whole body was tight because I was having trouble hearing. And when I went to a party, during Thanksgiving, I couldn't even tell where people were that were talking to me. It's that kind of thing. And I was so uncomfortable. Now that, and we'll talk a little bit about this, but when we talk about not only about body image, but being comfortable with your body, whatever shape it's in, we have to, and there are ways that we can. Well, let me back up for a minute. One of the things that I'm constantly amazed about is how little we pay attention to our own body.
Yep.
We may be more focused on other people's bodies, or what we worry about what people think of our bodies. But for us to really know our own body is something that is often people never even think about. And unfortunately, I tend to do that as well. Yeah. But I'm a lot more sensitive to it in the years, because one of the things that a friend of mine taught me, some stretching exercises, which I resisted in the beginning, of course, but I now find that my body is uncomfortable if I don't do them.
Isn't that weird?
Well, it's not weird. It's just it's our mindset. And you see, we forget that there's a connection between the mind and the body. If the body feels good, the mind feels good. If the mind does not feel good, the body doesn't feel good and may react to it.
Very much.
And I'll give you a pertinent example. One of the toughest things for people is to go in for a job interview for many people.
Yeah.
And what happens is that people, they convince themselves they're not going to get the job, and their body slumps. And their head may be a little bit bowed. They're not looking. They may even go so far as not to have eye contact with the person who's interviewing them.
Yep.
That's a whole setup for a rejection.
It is.
But we have to do a sales talk with ourselves before we go in. The same sales talk that we give the interviewer, we've got to give to ourselves. And we have to take a moment, if we need to, just go put ourselves against a wall and make sure that all parts of our body touch that wall, that our shoulders are back, our head is up, and to just see how that feels. Because if we feel our body, if we know where our head is, where our shoulders are, we're going to go in with some confidence.
Yeah.
And that's an exercise I recommend for people. The other exercise that I suggest to people to do frequently is what is referred to as a body scan.
Oh, yes.
That is, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
You sit in a chair and you just do just as you would take your temperature, you're taking a temperature of your body, and you can, in your mind, go to your toes, to your feet, and and go through saying, okay, how are those muscle masses feeling? Are they tight or are they loose? And a lot of times where people have that tension is in their shoulders. And if they give themselves a chance to check out their shoulders and they find it tight, when you can rotate your shoulders just to loosen them up or tighten the muscles around there, just tight as they can be, and then let them slowly relax and feel the difference. And all of that then contributes to our mind being more relaxed and more able to be direct. And, in that way you go in with a good feeling about yourself, and you can convey that to the person who's interviewing you, or the person you want to date, or the person, whoever you want to attract. Now, the one of the barriers to feeling good is this disastrous kind of thing called, the iPhone, the various programs and so forth give a really skewed view of how we're supposed to look.
Yeah.
And if we don't look that way, we feel awful about ourselves. And that's contributing to a rise in young people committing suicide.
Yep.
And sometimes when they go online, other people are making fun of their bodies. And for somebody who has a disability, they feel that they can't present themselves well.
Yeah.
But they can.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is attitude, but also to take the time to look good, but not to some kind of model that nobody can measure up to, but to what they have and present themselves well. It can be clothes, but not expensive clothes, but looking nice, wearing. One of the things that amazes a lot of people, I know in my church, is that I always come in with color coordinated, and nobody can figure out how the hell I do it because they know I can't see anything. And I've generally told them that my guide dog is very good at selecting my clothes. He can make sure that I don't mix anything, but even that's not true. There are a lot of interesting devices out there for people who don't have some friend with them, living with them, but want to be dressed properly. There's something called Pen Friend, which I love, which looks like the old-fashioned fountain pen, but it's a complete recording device in something the size of a large fountain pen. And what you do is you have some tags which are numbered, and you put the tag on your clothes or whatever, and then you have a sighted person come in to tell you what color the clothes are and what it will go with.
Yeah.
And all my clothes have those tags on it, which means I can just go use the Pen Friend. I put it on the dot. It reads what it is. And my friend who did all the recording, bless her heart, also has a sense of humor because she, I have a tie and I put a tag on it. And when I put the Pen Friend on it, it says, "Bill, I don't know why you keep this tie. This is a dull brown tie. Now, this is what it will go with, but I wouldn't advise it." And I keep that tie just to start my day off right.
That's hilarious. Does she do that for all the clothes?
All the clothes. All the clothes.
Oh, my goodness.
And she was kind enough to tell me what goes with what. And it makes getting dressed so much easier. Now, there's also for solid colors, I don't know whether they're still making them or not. They used to make a kind of pin, which also has little dots attached to them. Yeah. And then you'd be able to, let's say, red is 2 dots in the middle of the pen, one on each side of this bar that they have. And that tells me it's solid color and what it is. And I also, just to help me, I also have a device which is available where it is a talking device, which I put against the clothes and it'll tell me what color it is.
Wow.
And, so that if the pins are missing, I've got that. I can check it out. It says, it's brown. But these are for the solid colors. And then the multicolored ones are the ones I have to do a pen friend with. But basically, everything is coordinated that way so that I don't have to worry about how I look.
Yeah.
And it gives me confidence to know wherever I'm going that I'm dressed properly, particularly when you want to go do a job interview. You want to, look. You don't need to look fashionable.
Right.
But you want to look nice. And you want to look like you're coordinated so they don't, they have a good impression, which is unfortunate that impressions are sometimes based on how you dress and so forth.
Yeah.
But it's only part of it. That's an initial. And then when you present your charm, which we all have, and if we allow ourselves that, makes all the difference in the world. But what we're saying is in terms of, yes, it's appropriate for us to think about our image, but in a reasonable, obtainable way, not this kind of, we're supposed to look like a Greek god or a goddess.
Sure.
But we say, okay, I feel this way. Now you, Jonathan, as having been, you've done some acting, right?
Yeah, a lot.
And so have I. And what are actors taught about their role?
Well,
about their body?
For me, I was always taught that if I'm playing a particular character, my body is never really my own. It's now that character's body.
You got it.
And so when I'm embracing a character, like I always played villains, and even though my natural personality is very, fun and cheery and bombastic,
I can't imagine you as a villain.
That's the funny thing, because it's usually if you're a particular mindset or a character in real life, you're the opposite on stage. And that is very true for me. So I get to play these really dark and villainous people who are either sneaky or, manipulating or angry or all those kinds of things. And it kind of scares people as to like, I didn't know you could do that, and so it's a lot of fun for me. But all of that to say, when you're acting, your body is not your own. You take on that persona and character, and you get into a mindset of a particular person. So you may have to hold your body in a different way. You may have to think in a different way. Run your shoulder forward or back, or the other one down a little bit, or cock your head to one side, or your facial expressions, or all those. You have so many muscles in your face, you can use them all if you're not careful. But I want to go back to you were talking about the attitude about moving into a job interview or a date or something like that. I'm not kidding. When one of the things that I do in my car, if I'm not having the most particularly great day, is I will find a song that just gets me really hyped, gets me pumped up, that I know is going to make me feel good. And I'll listen to that until I get my mind in a good place where I can be like, yeah, I can accomplish whatever it is I'm going to do today. I can go, to the DMV and stand there for 4 hours. I can, go on this date, or I can go on this job interview or this banking thing, whatever it is. If there's a thing that you are having anxiety over, just find some good music that makes you feel good.
Right.
I used to lay on my back and do a lot of breathing exercises and allow yourself to try to sink into the floor by relaxing every muscle you can, even in your face. And a lot of times that helps a lot, because you realize, ooh, a nice hard floor. Now, you may have a hard time getting up, but depending on how old you are, or how many injuries you've had due to a lot of, stupid things you've done in your life. I digress. But it's so important to have a really good mindset going into whatever you have. Yesterday, or 2 days ago, had this very real interaction with my son where I was on video. I was videoing myself, but he was making some very funny reactions. And I was trying just to capture his voice, but it was on video. And I looked at myself and I was like, oh my gosh, is that really what I look like? And I had a pity party for myself, in the manner of speaking. I immediately took a shower, trimmed my beard, and just, I was like, wow, I don't know what happened. And I immediately felt better, but those 15, 20 minutes were not the best 15, 20 minutes I've had in a while. So.
Well, you see, that's what happens if we're not, we're so concentrating on other things that we're forgetting about ourselves. Yeah. And I think that taking that moment or several moments to kind of say, wait a minute, I'm seeing myself thinking and doing certain things. What's my body like? And do that body check. And with the body check, we then find out where the tightness is or what we need to change in our body posture. And if necessary, if we're not used to it, if we have someone around that we trust and say, look, this is, let me try something. We can try moving our body, parts of our body around to see if we're able to feel differently. Mm-hmm. And the person can kind of guide us with that. One of the things when we talk about, putting the shoulders back and the head back and so forth, if we're a big person, it may not be the best thing. It may be scaring people.
Sure.
So then we look at, okay, what do I need to modify so I'm more inviting? And that's the kind of experimentation we need to do with our bodies and feel when we've made that change so that we can then to remember that next time we're in certain situation. And when we're about to go into that situation, don't rush in. Mm-hmm. Take a moment to just do a body check to say, okay, how am I feeling right now? Is this is the performance. Yeah. And how do I make my body conform to the kind of performance I want to give in this party or whatever? Yeah. There's sometimes you have to be intimidating. Sometimes it's helpful when you're in a situation that's a little scary. It's okay, but you need to know what that looks like and be able to switch it back and forth according to the situation. And it's not as complicated as it sounds, but it does take some time and, most importantly, to pay attention to our bodies. Now, one of the things that I keep thinking about doing in this broadcast is to ask everybody to sit and inhale as much air as they can, hold it, 1, 2, 3, and then exhale very slowly. And do that a couple times and see how your body relaxes. Now, one of the keys is not to do it with your chest, but your gut, your stomach. In other words, extend your stomach as much as possible when you're inhaling. So it's taking all that air in, and then bring the gut in as you exhale, and do that a couple of times. And what you're doing is you're really enlarging, get the full capacity of your lungs, and that sends a message up the spinal cord, the vagus nerve, to the brain, to the area that produces calm. So if we do that deep breathing, just maybe 3 times, we'll find ourselves then relaxing.
My theater teacher said if you're having troubles, one, with the shallow breathing, which is that chest breathing, lay on your back like I was talking about earlier, and place a book on your stomach so that you have a visual representation of your stomach moving up and down to have that breathing technique.
Yeah, you can put your hand on your stomach, and if you feel it moving, you're doing right, because the chest breathing is the anxiety breathing.
That's right.
When you're hyperventilating, you're breathing at your chest, not bringing any air into your body.
Yeah. Well, and if you're doing it right, you should eventually yawn. Your body should get so much oxygen. You should get either tired or your brain is getting a lot of oxygen, and you're yawning and you're feeling good.
You're calming down, and that's what you want to do, particularly in a stressful situation like a job interview or a date or those kinds of things.
Now, you don't want to be yawning during the interview or the date.
No, but at least if you get the yawns out of the way and then go in and know that feeling of calm.
Yes.
Now, the issue being that so much of our time is not paying attention to us and to our body. We're paying attention to what we think other people think about our bodies. And it usually it's pretty negative. Oh, my body is not like so-and-so, or I'm deficient here, or whatever. We're so focused on those negative things. When if we accept ourselves as we are, people will accept us. But we have a hard time believing that. But if we feel good about ourselves, we feel comfortable. I remember when I first got hearing aids, I thought the hearing aids, they were behind the ear hearing aids. I thought it was bigger than me. I thought everybody saw it. And, I sort of, my head would be down, I was ashamed of it. And until someone I'd known for, I think he was a roommate I had in college. And we've been sharing a room for 6 months or whatever. He said, "Oh, I didn't know you wore hearing aids."
Wow.
And I had to think, oh, maybe my hearing aids aren't so big.
Yeah.
But because he was totally oblivious to it.
Wow.
And that was an education for me. But that's the education. That's what we have to really appreciate. And this is the only body we got.
That's right.
Unless we're Frankenstein. Well,
I don't know. I've seen some people in Hollywood.
Well, I just imagine, take our brain in and put it in this gigantic body. I wouldn't even want to do that.
Yeah.
It's like there isn't much brain anyway. So that's what I keep telling people. But the other, which brings up another point that, one thing that helps a lot in a lot of situations, if you can draw on a sense of humor, it will get you through a lot of situations. And that's one of the things that I feel very blessed. Somehow I have a sense of humor. And I'm going to be giving a presentation in February that has me very nervous. But the coordinator of the event said, when she invited me to be one of the speakers at this thing, said, you have a wonderful sense of humor. It's not my knowledge, my education that's got me this berth and this conference. It's the fact that she knew I was going to present dry stuff in a way that people will be able to enjoy it.
Yeah.
But that has to do with all situations, not necessarily put yourself down or whatever, but just to see yourself clearly as okay as you are, not as the media tells you're supposed to be, or any of that kind of thing. That is not what you need to do. You need to you have what it takes, no matter how you look. If you have a disability that, you can still manage. You can still make a good appearance, still feel confident, but that is your mindset that does that for you. It's not anybody else's mindset. It's your mindset about yourself. That is really the crucial thing. And if you go in feeling confident, and you're feeling like you present a good appearance and a good attitude, then it makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, I guess to summarize, you're talking about change your mindset, which changes your body, which changes your output.
Yeah. Well, it's actually both change your mind and your body will change your body, and your mind will change. It works together.
Yep. Yeah. And I think it's important for everybody to hear that there comes a time when you need to make some health choices that could be life and death. If you're not eating right, if you're not exercising properly, if you're exercising too hard, in some cases, those are times that you need to either consult a doctor or a physician, or really take an inventory at what you're doing, why you're doing it, and there can be too much of a good thing, and so it's important to remember, especially going into the new year, that January 1st, gym memberships go through the roof. Right. And, then by March, nobody's at the gym. So if you want to get a membership, wait until March a little bit. You can go, and it's either a little cheaper or there's fewer people. In any case, when you start this journey of becoming healthy and becoming more body conscious, and you want to change something about yourself, really analyze and ask yourself, why am I wanting to change this? Yes. And if your why is a good, healthy reason, and then ask a friend about it. Get some advice, and don't make a drastic change just because you feel like this would be the best thing for you. It's always good to get maybe some advice from somebody who's very close to you, who you feel trust with, and then proceed from there. Get a good game plan
not
together.
Do social medias and put the camera on yourself. Hey, do I need to change? Because you'll always find people who will play with us and say, oh, you need to do this, that, and the other thing. Or even if you try to mimic anybody who's on the screen, if it's not you, it's not you.
That's right.
But what you want to do is be healthy. Mm-hmm. Certainly, we've talked a lot, several programs recently about eating disorder. Yeah. That kind of thing is a way that we can go to the other extreme. And I have a friend of mine, he's now deceased, but in his younger years, he went to the gym all the time, but he didn't exercise correctly. Mm-hmm. And in his later years, he died in his 80s, but he developed a lot of problems, had a lot of surgery to correct the damage he did when he was younger and wasn't aware that he was hurting himself instead of just improving his body. So it's kind of like short-term gain and long-term damage, where we need to pay attention to what is really right for us and respect the fact that every one of us is unique.
Very much.
And we should embrace that uniqueness, but do it, be sure the basics of health is being observed, and respect, who we are. And I know that's a pie in the sky, but we can, if we pay attention to ourselves, if we pay attention to what our bodies are telling us. And right now, as I'm talking, I feel some tightening. I have to take a moment just to, relax. Yeah. People will get the point without my hopping into the screen or into the microphone.
Yep.
But that's, my mind and my body are working together when I remind myself of that. And that's, be a friend to your body, be a friend to your mind. And that way, you'll be good enough. Good enough.
That's right. Well, I want to make sure we give our listeners the information for our feedback line. We have an email. It's feedback@aincolorado.org, and that will soon change on January 8th to feedback@aftersight.org. And we do have a phone number that you can actually call us in and ask Bill a question, along with any of our hosts. So if you ask a question, let us know if you want it broadcast on air. We can do that, certainly. The number for that is 720-712-8856. So call early, call often, and we'd love to hear from you with any of your questions.
That'd be great, because this is your program, and the more information we get from you, hopefully the better the program will be for meeting your needs. So we wish everyone who's listening the best for the holiday season, and also that this new year is a very productive, relaxing, fulfilling New Year's. This is Bill Lundgren, your host, signing off for myself and for Jonathan Price, the producer. And Jonathan, I wish you a fabulous New Year. And I look forward to our podcast continuing into the new year.